So you're the mighty Ted Black. What's that?
The new deal I got you.
You don't represent me. I need someone with confidence. You just seem a little sheepish to me.
I am the best attorney in the country.
We're about to be the largest firm in the city.
Ted is making you and me co-heads of entertainment.
Come again? This time next week. You, me.
You being on top of me? That's a fantasy that's never gonna happen.
We'll see about that, Ricky.
It's different out here. People lie. They cheat. They do whatever they can to win.
I know what you're thinking of doing. Once you do it, there's no going back.
Hey guys, oh yes, it's happening.
Yes.
For all the Suits diehard fans out there, Harvey is back with a brand new season, featuring the highly anticipated West Coast merger. The wait is almost over. Suits returns on February 23rd on NBC. But before we dive into the new season, let's take a fast-paced 30-minute recap of everything from season 1 to 9. In season 1 of Suits, lawyer Harvey Specter is promoted to senior partner at the law firm Pearson Hardman. Unfortunately for Harvey, the new position comes with a catch. His boss, Jessica Pearson, informs him that company policy states that Harvey must hire a Harvard Law School graduate as his new associate attorney. As Harvey interviews possible candidates, he is discouraged by his lack of interest in all of them. Meanwhile, Mike Ross is a former aspiring lawyer with a photographic memory who was kicked out of college and now makes money by illegally passing the LSATs for other law students. As Mike struggles to pay his grandmother's nursing home bills, he agrees to accept a job from his drug-dealing friend Trevor, the man responsible for getting Mike kicked out of college. All Mike needs to do is deliver a suitcase of drugs to one of Trevor's clients. Unfortunately, the drug deal turns out to be a sting operation by the police, and as Mike evades the cops, he accidentally crosses paths with the desperate Harvey. Mike quickly impresses Harvey with his photographic memory, passion, and knowledge of the law, and so Harvey decides to illegally hire Mike, keeping the fact that he doesn't have a law degree a secret from his bosses. Mike then meets the rest of his coworkers at Pearson Hardman, which in addition to senior partner Jessica Pearson, includes paralegal Rachel Zane, Harvey's work rival Litt, and Harvey's loyal secretary Donna Paulson, the only other person to know about Mike's lack of a law degree. Throughout the season, Harvey and Mike work various cases with a variety of clients, all the while keeping Mike's secret. Harvey's rival Louis is constantly searching for ways to undermine him, and begins looking closer into Mike's history. Unfortunately for Louis, every effort to expose Mike, like forcing him into taking a drug test, is constantly thwarted. Mike then develops romantic feelings for his new coworker, Rachel, but she insists on keeping their relationship platonic. When Trevor's girlfriend Jenny discovers her boyfriend's drug business, she breaks up with him. Mike helps Trevor leave the city to sober up, and in his absence, Mike and Jenny begin secretly dating. Meanwhile, Mike helps Rachel study to take the LSAT, and they eventually share a kiss. Wanting to remain faithful to Jenny, Mike breaks things off with Rachel. When Trevor returns to the city, he discovers a voicemail from Rachel on Mike's phone, declaring her true feelings for him despite his relationship with Jenny. Distraught over the betrayal of his ex-girlfriend and his best friend, Trevor goes to Jessica Pearson and exposes the secret that Mike does not have a law degree. In season 2 of Suits, Jessica is outraged upon discovering Mike's secret and insists that Harvey fire him. Determined to protect his new accomplice, Harvey devises a scheme to keep Mike employed as a lawyer. Pearson Hardman's other partner, Daniel Hardman, was forced out of the company 5 years prior after Harvey and Jessica blackmailed him for cheating on his terminally ill wife. Now that Daniel's wife has passed away, he wants to return to the firm. Harvey vows to blackmail Daniel once again, preventing his reinstatement, in exchange for Jessica keeping Mike's lack of a law degree under wraps. Despite Harvey's efforts, Daniel manages to return as co-leader of Pearson Hardman. Jessica is furious, but Harvey gains leverage by threatening to expose her knowledge of Mike's secret to Daniel. Reluctantly, Jessica agrees to keep Mike's secret. Back at the firm, Daniel is no longer satisfied with co-leading and begins plotting to overthrow Jessica and become the sole managing partner. He teams up with a rival legal team to sue Pearson Hardman for fraud, with Harvey as the prime target. Daniel then fabricates incriminating evidence against Harvey and involves his secretary Donna. Wanting to protect her boss, Donna destroys the evidence. The entire firm soon learns of Donna's actions, leading to a scandal that forces Harvey to fire her. The ensuing lawsuit and turmoil give Daniel the leverage to convince the firm's other partners to support his takeover, making him the sole managing partner. However, his victory is short-lived, as Harvey uncovers the truth behind Daniel's fraudulent evidence and legal deception. This revelation leads to Daniel's permanent expulsion, Jessica's reinstatement as managing partner, and Donna's reinstatement as Harvey's secretary. Meanwhile, Jenny finds out about Mike's kiss with Rachel and breaks up with him. As Mike and Rachel start dating, Mike struggles with guilt over his secret. Both Harvey and Donna warn him that revealing the truth to Rachel could put them all in legal jeopardy. Feeling torn, Mike ultimately ends the relationship. The scandal with Daniel leaves Pearson Hardman in financial trouble. Jessica considers merging with a British firm, Darby International. Harvey strongly opposes the merger and attempts to prove his firm's superiority by pitting Mike against Darby in a series of lawsuits. However, Mike soon discovers that Darby's lead attorney is none other than Harvey's ex-girlfriend, Dana Scott, Scotty. Harvey and Jessica strike a deal. If Mike wins the cases, Pearson Hardman remains independent, and Harvey is promoted to named partner. If Scotty wins, Harvey must accept the merger. Unfortunately for Harvey, Jessica blackmails him into deliberately losing the cases by threatening to expose Mike's secret. As a result, Scotty wins, and Darby merges with Pearson to form Pearson Darby. Frustrated and defeated, Harvey attempts to fire Mike, but Jessica intervenes to keep him on board. Angry over his fallout with Harvey, Mike turns to Rachel, who is devastated after failing to get into Harvard Law. As the season concludes, Mike finally confesses his secret to Rachel, and the two take their relationship to the next level. In season 3 of Suits, Harvey is still resentful about the merger and holds a grudge against both Jessica and Mike. Darby assigns him a new case representing oil executive Ava Hessington in a trial against the U.S. government. Ava is accused of violating environmental laws, including bribing officials to approve her pipeline. The situation becomes even more complicated when it's revealed that Ava's father was once romantically involved with Darby, giving him a personal stake in the case. Harvey leverages this information, proposing that if he wins, Darby must remove Jessica from the firm and make Harvey the new managing partner. Harvey starts working closely with his ex, Scotty, on the case, and their old romance rekindles. Edward, Darby's right-hand man, Stephen Huntley, arrives from London to assist with the case and quickly develops a romantic interest in Donna. Meanwhile, Harvey's dubious former mentor, Cameron Dennis, is appointed as the prosecutor in the Ava Hessington case and is determined to secure her conviction at any cost. Mike and Rachel struggle with their relationship as Rachel believes Mike should leave the firm to prevent his secret from being exposed. As Mike rises through the firm, Rachel begins to resent his success, knowing it is built on deception. Despite their struggles, they reconcile, and Rachel teams up with Donna to help Harvey and Mike repair their fractured relationship. Cameron Dennis convinces Harvey to accept a plea deal for Ava, requiring her to pay a substantial fine but avoid prison time. However, Cameron exploits a loophole to charge Ava with the murders of a group of pipeline protesters. Ava confesses to Harvey and Mike that she bribed Colonel Mariega, but only to ensure her pipeline's safe construction. Mike devises a plan for Ava to legally compensate Cameron's supposed witnesses by having them sue her. Amidst the legal turmoil, wealthy businessman Tony Giannopoulos attempts a hostile takeover of Hessington Oil. Jessica and Lewis want to retain Hessington Oil as a client, so they orchestrate Ava's removal as CEO to block the takeover. Later, when they require Tony's assistance in the murder case, Harvey and Jessica negotiate a deal in which Tony acquires Hessington Oil but reinstates Ava as CEO in return for his cooperation and supposed loyalty. As a result, Jessica promotes Harvey to named partner, rebranding the firm as Pearson Harvey Specter. Cameron then reveals that Colonel Mariega will testify against Ava, alleging that she directly ordered the protesters' murders. In a bid to prove Ava's innocence, Mike and Donna uncover that Darby's right-hand man, Stephen, was actually responsible for orchestrating the killings. Ava had approached Darby for help with her pipeline, but Stephen took it upon himself to hire his former rugby teammate, Mariega, to execute the murders, without Ava or Darby's knowledge. Darby confesses to Harvey and Jessica that he later learned of Stephen's involvement but chose to cover it up. Realizing his wrongdoing, Darby agrees to testify against Stephen, leading to Stephen's arrest for murder, and the charges against Ava being dropped. Due to his role in the cover-up, Darby is disbarred from practicing law in the U.S., resulting in the dissolution of Pearson Harvey Specter, which is then rebranded as Pearson Specter. Harvey eventually confesses his feelings for Scotty, persuading her to leave Darby and join Pearson Specter. Meanwhile, Litt starts dating Harvard employee Sheila, which leads to his accidental discovery that Mike never actually graduated from Harvard Law. Donna intervenes, helping Mike mislead Louis and steer him away from the truth. Elsewhere, Rachel enrolls at Columbia Law School and deepens her relationship with Mike by moving in with him. After securing a major legal victory, Mike's name is removed from public records to prevent scrutiny of his credentials. However, the witness bribery scheme from the Hessington case draws the attention of U.S. Attorney Eric Woodall. He pressures Mike to turn on Harvey, but Mike remains steadfast in his loyalty. Eventually, the case is dropped, but the ordeal prompts Mike to leave the firm and pursue a legitimate career in investment banking. When Scotty learns about the bribery cover-up, she reluctantly resigns from Pearson Specter. Harvey, filled with guilt over his past actions and secrecy, finally confesses the full truth to her, that Mike was never a licensed lawyer, and that Harvey had helped conceal the deception. In Season 4 of Suits, Mike faces challenges with his new boss, Jonathan Sidwell, who prioritizes profits over people. Mike takes a keen interest in helping one of the Sidwell Group's clients, Walter Gillis, secure enough funding to reclaim control of his company and prevent being ousted. Mike is determined to help Walter Gillis regain control of his company without being forced out. Meanwhile, Harvey is approached by Pearson Specter client Logan Sanders, who enlists his help in orchestrating a hostile takeover of Gillis Industries. This places former allies, Harvey and Mike, on opposite sides of a fierce corporate battle. To complicate matters further, Mike's girlfriend Rachel is now working as Harvey's part-time associate and had previously engaged in an affair with the married Logan. As Rachel and Logan work together again, Logan rekindles his feelings for her, leading to them sharing a kiss. When Mike discovers the betrayal, he breaks up with Rachel. Elsewhere, Eric Woodall sends Jeff Malone to investigate Pearson Specter on behalf of the SEC. However, Malone, who is secretly dating Jessica, manipulates the situation to secure a senior partner position at Pearson Specter instead of exposing any fraud. Now working alongside the firm, Malone helps them counter the SEC's investigation. Meanwhile, a new prosecutor, Sean Cahill, is assigned to expose their hidden secrets. In an effort to save Gillis Industries, Mike makes a deal with Charles Forsman, an old rival of Harvey's, to secure a controlling stake in the company. The agreement ensures that Walter Gillis remains in charge while cutting Jonathan Sidwell out of any profits. In response, Harvey and Jessica secretly invest their own money in purchasing shares of Gillis Industries, intending to sell them to Logan. However, when Cahill starts scrutinizing their financial dealings, they are forced to retain the shares themselves to avoid drawing suspicion from the SEC. Attempting to fix the situation, Lewis uncovers an error in the transaction and reverses the sale. Unfortunately, this inadvertently allows Forsman to acquire the shares instead, enraging Harvey. When Logan is summoned by the SEC regarding his business dealings with Pearson Specter, his board members begin to question his leadership and the credibility of the Gillis takeover. Consequently, Logan agrees to abandon the takeover and negotiate a deal with Mike. However, out of spite for Logan's relentless pursuit of Rachel, Mike deliberately sabotages the agreement. Seeking to mend his relationship with Harvey, Louis manipulates Forsman into betraying Mike by selling his Gillis shares to Logan instead. Harvey commends Louis for his strategic move. However, when Forsman insists on illegally funneling his money through the Cayman Islands to evade taxes, Louis is left with no choice but to comply, fearing he will disappoint Harvey. Despite his betrayal, Forsman offers Mike a job as a reward for his efforts. Jessica, recognizing Louis' contribution in securing Logan's deal, offers him a favor of his choosing. Not wanting Mike to work under the deceitful Forsman and fearing that Mike might uncover his own involvement in the tax evasion scheme, Louis convinces Jessica to rehire Mike at Pearson Specter. As Cahill intensifies his investigation, he becomes convinced that Mike only worked at Sidwell to illegally collude with Harvey in the hostile takeover of Gillis Industries. In a desperate attempt to shield the firm, Louis confesses his role in Forsman's tax evasion scheme to Woodall, hoping it will satisfy the SEC's pursuit of Pearson Specter's secrets. However, Woodall dismisses the confession and instructs Cahill to proceed with the investigation. The firm soon realizes that Forsman had used his financial influence to have Woodall installed as head of the SEC, ensuring he would act in Forsman's interests. Armed with this revelation, Pearson Specter presents their findings to Cahill, who then shifts his focus from the firm to taking down Woodall instead. Feeling the weight of his illegal actions, Louis resigns from the firm. However, he soon uncovers undeniable proof that Mike never attended Harvard and uses this knowledge to blackmail Jessica into making him a named partner. As a result, the firm is rebranded as Pearson Specter Litt. Unfortunately, Cahill later informs the firm that he has been unable to find concrete evidence linking Forsman to bribing Woodall. Years earlier, Forsman had deceived Harvey into assisting with an insider trading scheme, only to later implicate Harvey's brother Marcus as leverage to prevent Harvey from exposing the crime, prevent Harvey from exposing Forsman to the authorities. In the present, Harvey secretly wears a wire and tricks Forsman into confessing his past crimes, leading to Cahill arresting him. Malone grows suspicious of Jessica, but breaks up with her and resigns before she can reveal Mike's secret. Mike forgives Rachel for her kiss with Logan, and they reconcile and get engaged. As the season ends, Harvey confesses his love to Donna, but takes it back, claiming it was out of pity. Donna, realizing her feelings, professes her love but resigns, finding it too difficult to work with him. She then becomes Louis's new secretary. In season 5 of Suits, Harvey struggles without Donna as his secretary, friend, and confidant, triggering memories of his childhood trauma when his mother abandoned him. As his insecurities resurface, Harvey begins suffering from severe panic attacks and seeks the help of therapist Dr. Paula Agard. During this period, he also has a fling with Louis's sister, Esther, leading to a heated confrontation between the two partners. Meanwhile, Mike works to gain the approval of Rachel's father, renowned attorney Robert Zane. Initially skeptical of his future son-in-law, Robert gradually comes to respect Mike after witnessing his sharp legal skills and photographic memory help them win a case together. At Pearson Specter Litt, senior partner Jack Soloff is eager to rise through the ranks by any means necessary. As head of the firm's compensation committee, he exposes Harvey's salary, prompting a partner vote to reduce Harvey's pay. Jack also sets his sights on Mike, pressuring Jessica to promote him to junior partner. Jessica is hesitant, fearing that Mike's promotion will bring too much attention to his background and risk exposing his lack of a law degree. Despite her concerns, Jessica ultimately relents and names Mike a junior partner. Soon after, Jack reveals that he has been working with Daniel Hardman, who once again seeks to reclaim control of his former firm, despite Jessica and Harvey's efforts to block him. Daniel informs the other partners that he has secured a billion-dollar client willing to join if he is reinstated. Harvey later discovers that Hardman's mystery client is none other than the imprisoned Charles Forsman. Harvey confronts Forsman in prison, and in a shocking turn, Forsman agrees to stop backing Hardman's takeover attempt on the condition that Harvey resigns from Pearson Specter Litt. With no alternative, Harvey steps down from the firm to protect Jessica and Louis. Meanwhile, Mike also resigns, realizing that continuing his deception would jeopardize Rachel's future. Unfortunately, Mike is soon arrested, as his fraudulent legal career has been exposed. He now faces trial under the relentless prosecution of U.S. Attorney Anita Gibbs. Louis quickly realizes that his ex, Sheila, is responsible for exposing Mike. After reading an article about Mike's promotion, Sheila checked Harvard's records and confirmed that he was never a student. Desperate to help Mike, Louis persuades Sheila to leave the country temporarily so she cannot testify. Meanwhile, Mike threatens to implicate both Hardman and Soloff in the firm's cover-up of his fake credentials unless Harvey is allowed to return to Pearson Specter Litt. Seeing no other choice, Hardman and Soloff comply, and Harvey rejoins the firm to help clear Mike's name. Donna also returns as his secretary and right hand once more. Despite Harvey's insistence, Mike chooses to defend himself in court. After a tense negotiation with Gibbs, Mike ultimately accepts a plea deal, agreeing to serve 2 years in prison in exchange for Gibbs dropping any further charges against Pearson Specter Litt. As Mike prepares to turn himself in, the consequences of his deception finally catch up to him. Over to the authorities, Rachel insists on a spontaneous wedding, but Mike selflessly declines, wanting Rachel to live her life freely while he serves his sentence. In season 6 of Suits, Pearson Specter Litt faces a massive $100 million class action lawsuit for every case Mike had worked on illegally. To make matters worse, Robert Zane is furious at the firm for jeopardizing his daughter's professional and personal life by enabling Mike's fraud. In retaliation, he poaches all of the firm's partners, leaving only Jessica, Harvey, and Louis. The trio is forced to set aside their differences to save the company, with help from their loyal employees, Donna and Rachel. To stabilize the firm, Pearson Specter Litt begins subletting office space to an investment firm, while Harvey works to bring in new clients to cover the firm's debts. With the financial crisis averted, Jessica starts working with Rachel on pro bono cases, helping exonerate a wrongly convicted man sentenced to death. The case rekindles Jessica's passion for the law and inspires her to leave Pearson Specter Litt and New York City entirely, returning to her hometown of Chicago to create meaningful change. Meanwhile, in prison, Mike is targeted by Frank Gallo, a criminal Harvey had put behind bars 15 years earlier. Frank, seeking revenge on Harvey, threatens Rachel and attacks Mike, which results in his cellmate, Kevin, being stabbed. Harvey turns to Sean Cahill for help, but Cahill reveals that Frank is a federal informant, making a transfer impossible. Instead, Cahill offers Mike a deal. If he can gather intel from his cellmate, Kevin, he will arrange an early release. Kevin is in prison for drunk driving, but was given a plea deal to testify against his father-in-law for insider trading. Not wanting to implicate his own wife, Kevin refused the deal and went to prison. Harvey tracks down Kevin's wife and convinces her to turn against her corrupt father. With Kevin's cooperation, Cahill arranges for Mike's early release. Outside of prison, Mike reunites with Rachel and begins working as the manager of an inexperienced legal clinic staff. However, Rachel is rejected by the New York bar due to the ethical complications of dating Mike. Determined to fix this, Harvey strikes a deal with board member Craig Seidel, suing Seidel's business rival, Velocity, in exchange for both Rachel and Mike being approved by the bar. As Harvey focuses on taking down Velocity, Louis struggles to keep the firm afloat, aided by his trusted associate, Katrina. After successfully defeating Velocity, Seidel secures Mike a hearing before the bar's ethics board. As Anita Gibbs attempts to sabotage Mike's reinstatement, Jessica returns to New York and delivers a powerful speech in his defense, accepting full responsibility for the firm's past misconduct. As a result, Jessica is disbarred in New York, but leaves happily, returning to Chicago. Mike is officially recognized as a lawyer and is now legally allowed to practice at Pearson Specter Litt. In Season 7 of Suits, Harvey and Lewis struggle to fill the leadership void left by Jessica's departure. When Donna demands recognition for her contributions to the firm, Harvey appoints her as Chief Operating Officer. Harvey then recruits Alex Williams, a lawyer from his past, as a senior partner, bringing in valuable clients to the firm. Meanwhile, Mike continues his passion for pro bono work and takes on a wrongful death case involving a prisoner. Unfortunately, the private prison company running the facility is a major client of Alex, creating a conflict of interest. Although Mike agrees to hand off the case, he finds himself unable to stay uninvolved. Alex confronts Mike about his continued involvement and exposes the conflict of interest in court, leading to the case being dismissed. This inspires Mike to take on Reform Corps itself, an organization that illegally exploits inmates as an unpaid workforce. Years ago, Alex and Harvey were both aspiring junior partners, but after being passed over in favor of Louis, Harvey agreed to work with Alex to secure promotions at a rival firm, Bratton Gould. Jessica then offered Harvey a promotion, convincing him to stay, but Alex was bound to his contract and had to work under the corrupt Tommy Bratton. For years, Alex was assigned unwinnable cases until Bratton ordered him to secure a waiver for a construction company connected to Reform. Alex complied, only to uncover a sinister forced labor scheme. When an inmate and a guard were murdered to conceal the operation, Bratton framed Alex to prevent him from going to the authorities. If Mike continues his crusade against Reform, Alex will be implicated. Mike and Harvey devise a plan to protect Alex, while Robert Zane leads the case against Reform. Robert persuades Frank Gallo to testify against Reform's CEO, Roger Shapiro, but before he can testify, Frank is murdered in prison. Roger denies involvement, but Robert reveals that Frank recorded a confession before his death, exposing both Roger and Reform's illegal practices. Roger agrees to a major settlement for the victims and implicates Bratton, forcing Bratton to clear Alex of any wrongdoing. Following this victory, the former senior partners of Pearson Specter Litt learn about the massive buyout Jessica received upon her departure. Led by Stanley Gordon, these embittered former partners conspire to oust Harvey and Lewis from their own firm. Seeking revenge, Mike convinces Robert to merge firms, creating Zane Specter Litt. This strengthens their position and allows them to thwart Gordon's takeover attempt. Meanwhile, Louis rekindles his romance with his ex Sheila, who has moved to New York after leaving Harvard to work at Columbia. Harvey starts dating his former therapist doctor, Paula Agard, but she soon becomes uneasy about his closeness to Donna. When Paula issues an ultimatum, Harvey chooses Donna, leading to their breakup. As the season concludes, Mike and Rachel marry in a heartfelt ceremony with their family and friends. Mike then bids farewell to Harvey, announcing that he and Rachel are moving to Seattle to open a legal clinic dedicated to helping those in need. In Season 8 of Suits, Robert Zane takes over as managing partner of Zane Specter Litt, and immediately clashes with Harvey. Both men are determined to promote their protégés. Harvey backs Alex, while Robert supports his surrogate daughter and fierce attorney, Samantha Wheeler. As Harvey and Robert battle for control, Alex and Samantha also clash, pushing the firm toward chaos. At its most fractured state, Tommy Bratton returns to sue the firm, accusing them of bribing Frank Gallo to falsify evidence in the Reform case. Desperate to save the firm, Donna orchestrates Louis taking over as managing partner, and both Alex and Samantha are promoted to name partners. This results in the firm's new excessively long name, Zane Specter, Litt Wheeler Williams. Elsewhere, Louis and Sheila discover they are expecting a child. Harvey, struggling with his emotions, lashes out at Louis. But through therapy, he realizes his anger stems from his fear of losing yet another friend, as he did with Jessica, Mike, and Rachel. Meanwhile, Louis' former associate, Katrina, is promoted to senior partner and develops romantic feelings for her associate, Brian. However, Brian is already married, and to avoid an affair, he resigns from the firm. Donna attempts to move on from Harvey by dating Thomas Kessler, a high-profile client of Alex. However, Harvey's client, Simon Lowe, deceives Thomas into entering a sham business deal, using it as a ploy to attract other offers. When Harvey confides in Donna about his client's scheme, Donna betrays his trust and warns Thomas. Thomas then withdraws from the deal, leaving Lowe furious and suing Harvey for violating attorney-client privilege. In the ensuing legal battle, Lowe enlists none other than Daniel Hardman as his attorney. The villainous Hardman seeks not only to win the case, but also to destroy Harvey's career and have him disbarred. To protect Harvey and the firm, Robert takes responsibility for the confidentiality breach, resulting in his disbarment. Years earlier, Samantha had been attacked by a mugger, and Robert fabricated evidence to ensure the criminal's arrest. However, the mugger was later killed in jail, leaving Robert ridden with guilt. Now, by sacrificing his career, he feels absolved of his past misdeeds. Moved by Samantha's deep admiration for Robert, Harvey finally realizes his own true love for Donna. As the season concludes, Harvey rushes to Donna, and the two share a long-awaited kiss. In Season 9 of Suits, Harvey and Donna fully embrace their relationship, growing closer both personally and professionally. With Donna by his side, Harvey reconnects with his estranged mother before her passing. Meanwhile, the New York Bar Association orders Zane Specter, Litt, Wheeler, Williams to remove Robert's name from the firm. Samantha adamantly refuses, wishing to honor Robert's sacrifice, leading the Bar Association to appoint Faye Richardson to oversee the firm. Faye proves ruthless in her authority and eventually installs herself as managing partner. She deems Harvey and Donna's relationship a conflict of interest and forces Donna to either break up with Harvey or lose her board vote. Faye then fires the cutthroat Samantha for her unorthodox yet well-intentioned legal practices. Determined to remove Faye, the firm fights back. Harvey and Louis uncover a scandal from Faye's divorce settlement, where she turned her ex-husband over to the bar for overcharging clients. Faye then manipulated the bar into dropping the case, allowing her to retain the illicit money. Harvey confronts Faye, who justifies her actions as a means to protect her daughter from growing up with a convicted father. Despite this revelation, Donna insists that Harvey find a more honorable way to defeat Faye. Mike Ross returns to New York to assist his former colleagues, representing Samantha in a wrongful termination lawsuit against the Faye. In a high-stakes move, Faye compels Harvey and Louis to defend her in court, promising to leave the firm if they help her win. However, if either of them reveals their deal, she threatens to dismantle the firm from within. When Katrina attempts to support Samantha and Mike, Faye fires her as well. Harvey secretly informs Mike about the deal, and together, they devise one last con. With Samantha's help, Harvey and Mike stage an elaborate fight in the office, creating a diversion to switch documents. This results in Faye unknowingly signing a confession of witness tampering. Initially, Faye remains defiant, but Harvey privately strikes a deal. He will resign if she does as well. With no other options, Faye steps down, finally relinquishing control of the firm. With Faye gone, Louis and Alex reinstate Samantha and Katrina. Louis then promotes Katrina to named partner, finalizing the firm's new and last official title, Litt Wheeler Williams Bennett. As the series comes to an end, the firm gathers to celebrate Louis and Sheila's wedding. However, the ceremony is cut short when Sheila unexpectedly goes into labor. Not wanting to waste the occasion, Harvey proposes to Donna, and they get married on the spot. In the final moments, Harvey confides in Louis, revealing that he and Donna are moving to Seattle to work alongside Mike and Rachel. The couple plans to use their skills to fight for justice, helping those in need. And that concludes everything that happened across all 9 seasons of Suits.